this person is thinking that you're drawing a dog who's getting splashed by like chocolate milk or something. Hi, we're Kala.
I'm Marsha.
And I'm Veda.
So today we're going to be talking about a concept, and our first concept is elements of an idea. Elements of an idea. So we'll be getting into artist intent, composition, elements and principles of art and design.
Okay, so to begin with, artist intent. So it's the most fundamental aspect of your portfolio, of a portfolio level piece. Your artist intent is basically the reason why you create your piece. It tells you your meaning, and it's basically your commentary on different topics. So you don't want to be as basic as just drawing a cat or a dog and saying that this is my piece. You could be the most technically advanced person and draw a cat and dog. But it would take your piece to another level if you add some sort of meaning to it. That's what a lot of colleges look forward to.
I think the cat and dog thing, what you mentioned, is it works. You have to know the situation. Are you submitting your piece to a competition? Are you doing it for pleasure? Are you doing it as a portfolio artwork? Because if you're doing it for a competition, obviously you have to follow the prompt. And if you're doing it for portfolio, they don't want to see a dog stuck in the middle of the paper, no matter how beautifully rendered it is. You're gonna really want to expand more on your creativity.
Yeah. So with that being said, if you were to submit this to a college or as a portfolio piece, you'd want, the basic way to get your artist intent is forming that sort of personal connection to that piece. Like, ask yourself, why are you drawing this? Is this dog someone you knew? Is this your dog? Is it you thinking about how your dog was like when they were younger? That truly elevates your piece, because then you get to decide, oh, maybe if I include this, that truly adds to that makes the meaning of your piece so much more visible, and that adds sort of a complexity to your piece, which is what a lot of colleges look forward to.
A tip I will say is, if you decide to not always, but it's better if you decide to make a piece on a subject that you know a lot about and you're very passionate about and opinionated about, because you will have more to say and more ways to say it. Really reflect who you are onto a piece of paper, and really without saying anything, so through art.
Composition isn't just about using like rule of thirds or like basically just normal compositional meanings. Of course, rule of thirds is very important, and that is there.
We can get into the details of that later.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that. But it's also more than that. Your composition also depends on the mediums, on the positioning of your objects, like where you put your central object. It's all about making sure that your pieces, your other surrounding subjects lead up to your main subject. And your main subject should be a good reflection of your artist's intent.
So it's just, composition is taking a blank canvas and arranging your space. Is you have all this empty space, you have to know where to put what, and what will be the most successful. So like, if the dog thing, if you put the dog on the top left, is that best? Or if you put the dog on the bottom right, does that work best? And where do all the other elements go? What is it that I want the audience to see first? Where do I want the audience's eye to go? So it's arranging your space. That's basically all composition is. And the difficult part is doing it right, because you can always be too cluttered and it can always be too minimalistic. And that also goes back to your artist's intent, because is that cluttered horror vacui, is that what you want? Or do you want that minimalistic? But most of the time, they're two complete different ends of the spectrum that will only work best in certain situations. So you want to figure out what type of arrangement will work best for my artist's intent.
Like that sort of sweet spot.
Yeah, the sweet spot, yeah.
We like to say, like, lead your viewer to your focal point.
Yes.
Like,
Always.
so all your focal point doesn't mean that your piece or your central subject is supposed to be in the center. It could be at the top, it could be at the bottom, but the way you place it, like, part of perspective is very important with this. Just make sure that all the other elements kind of like some sort of movement, like the way they're turned or the way they drape themselves, all lead to that one central point.
We're trying to say a more successful composition will lead the viewer to see the artist's intent more clearly, because art is very subjective, like especially if you're talking about contemporary or conceptual art. I can look at something and be like, oh, but this is what I see, but the artist can be like, but that's not what I wanted to do. I have evidence to back up what I see.
Your evidence, again, like if your art piece was a piece of literature, your evidence is your elements and principles of art and design. I feel like the only way that you can truly grade an art piece is by making sure that the artist or whoever's viewing it and analyzing it has proper elements and principles of art and design and compositional structure to back up what they're saying.
So, talking about elements and principles of design, so you have balance. So for composition, the main ones would be balance, emphasis, movement, line, color. So those are all more elements. So the balance is, do you want your supporting pieces in your artwork to overtake your focal point? Because at the end of the day, your focal point has to have more, it has to be more emphasized than the others. Because let's say I'm looking at an artwork and let's say I'm paying more attention to a not needed detail rather than the focal point. Because if I don't look at the focal point and pay more attention to that, then that piece is not that successful.
Like, so an example would be like when you take a photographer, when you take a photograph, especially on your phones, something that a lot of people used to do these days is like putting that sort of blur, like blurring the surroundings and putting a lot of detail.
Stop.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
She's more into photography than I am. But yeah, and you focus with a lot of detail onto your central subject. So that's kind of like what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
Lead it to that.
Another thing I think we've both talked about this, is comparing an artwork to an essay. Is you wouldn't just plop in random details in an essay if it had no correlation to your thesis. So you always want to back up everything in your artwork to your meaning. So it has to be evidence. So everything that's not the main subject in your artwork is evidence to your meaning. So all your other little elements have to be evidence for your main concept.
I like to call your piece a tableau of your climax in your story. It shows that scene. It should be able to show the whole story from, or at least most of the story from start to finish. You want to get the ending of your story or the climax of your story. Your climax is somewhere towards the end.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
This all segues into elements and principles of art and design, which we will go more into detail. This is just kind of tiptoeing into the water right now. And this may be a little too much to start off with, and we will have more videos where we go deep into just elements and principles of design, because that really is the foundation for what a piece is made up of.
It's how people start off usually.
Yeah, it's how you start off with. And we're just trying to give you something to chew on. Just think about, maybe look through your previous artworks and be like, can people really see what I wanted them to see? Because we all have created those cliche meaning pieces, but someone else who has a different thought process can see something else. So ask your mom, dad, sister, brother, cousin, girlfriend, anyone. Yeah. Just ask them what they see. Don't tell them. And then you can actually tell them what you thought, and you can, that way when you talk it out, you can see, oh, do I actually have evidence to back up what I'm saying? Because it's all, you should be able to say it all without saying a word.
I think we're good for today.
Yeah, I hope you guys liked this little quick, maybe slightly intense introduction into elements of an idea. Go check out our blog to see it in more detail and maybe kind of absorb it a little better than us just rambling and talking really fast.
Yeah, we're a bunch of art. We're just two art geeks. Like,
We are. We have so
spilling.
much. We're just kind of vomiting it out.
We'll dive into. I think our next series after this, after 1 or 2 more episodes, we'll be getting properly into a more conceptual understanding of the elements and principles. And then after that, who knows? Let us know what you want to see.
Yeah,
and we can
just
give it
let
to you.
us know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay,
you
well,
for
thank
watching.
you.